Peter Eliades with you again. This is Thursday, October 24th, our stock market cycles update. We're going to show you one or two of the charts that we showed you yesterday and move on from there. There are quite a few things to show you today of interest. This is the channel that we showed you yesterday and said that we had notes to show it to you on Tuesday of this week, but did not show it as it turned out on that day. But it's been a great channel, and it continues to be a great channel. I'm going to show you two versions of it. This is the exact one I showed you yesterday. This is a 27-minute chart of the S&P E-mini futures, daytime trading only. And the way the channel is constructed was starting with a tops line, which goes from the high on October 4th. You could just as easily use the high on October 7th because they intersect virtually perfectly, along with a high of October 11th. So we have actually three hits on the top, and you parallel that to the exact low on October 3rd. And when I say exact low, I want to show you how this is done. See the low in this group that I'm moving around here? It shows the low as 28.55. Now, let me click on this line, and it'll show you see where it says begin price, 28.55.00. It's exactly on that low, and it's paralleled up. We had a little tiny penetration here, and we're starting to see over the past day or so, look at the tiny penetrations here too. We'll zoom in on that. But we're going to compare that with another chart in a second. See the little tiny penetrations through it, stopped there, came up, came back down, got a little bit below here, a little bit below here, made a nice move up. And right at the end of the day today, little tiny move underneath, and it closed almost virtually exactly on the line. Okay, that's that particular channel with a 27-minute chart. Now I'm going to show you the exact same chart with an 81-minute chart. This is an 81-minute S&P E-mini future and 27 minutes to 81, so there are three 27-minute bars in each one of these bars. And watch this. Same high, the first of the two highs, to the same high, the high on October 11th, and exactly down to the low at 28.55 even. We'll look at this line. It says begin price 28.55 even. But this one's a little more interesting because look what happened today. Here's a close-up of what happened today. Came down close to it, not quite close, rallied up, came down, came down. This was the closest bar right here. The low was 3,000.25, and the bottom channel line was right around 29.99.46, so about 75 cents above it. So it was not challenged, it was not broken slightly below. This channel remains important. And if we break this channel with any kind of clarity tomorrow, then you have to assume that the market is not ready to make its move to the higher upside projections that we have. So that's one thing to keep your eye on. Tomorrow, I'll give you quickly what those periods will be at for the first period. And remember, these are 81-minute periods. So this would be after the first 81 minutes, around 3,321. Then it goes up to 3,513, the second bar. The third bar around 3,676. Fourth bar right around 3,888. And yesterday's or tomorrow's last bar at 3,1070. So those are the general levels to be watching. Should we break below them tomorrow, the implication was that we'd see some more short-term weakness. Okay, let's take a look at yesterday's 65-minute chart that we showed you, the projection chart. I believe it's this one right here. Yes, there we go. So remember, we showed it to you. These are 65-minute bars, so these 6 bars right here would be today's action. This was the last bar yesterday, I believe. Yep, 1300 was just California time, 1 o'clock. And this projection was still in effect. It was still in red. As you can see, however, we moved smartly up in the first period today. It looked like we were going to invalidate it right away. The downside projection didn't do that. We ran up inside of these projection lines, as so often happens. The market almost knows that they're there. I don't think it knows we're looking at them, but it knows that they're there, and it shows the importance of these offset lines. And then finally, in the last period today, we saw a break above, and when that break above occurred, notice this box turned from red to gray. A gray means there has been at least a temporary invalidation of the downside projections. And usually when you get an invalidation, in fact, you get a projection in the opposite direction, and that's exactly what happened. We now have a short-term projection up to between 30.1851 and 30.2150. That's on the cash. These are not the futures. This is the cash S&P index. So that's what we're looking at tomorrow, and this tells us we should have a pretty good chance, very short term, of at least getting up to these levels. What would it take to invalidate that? Well, you can see from the lines here, move back below 29.95 to 3,000 tomorrow would invalidate that. So if indeed we see some kind of move to the downside tomorrow during the day below these lines, that would mean that this upside projection has been invalidated. But I would count on this unless you see some significant weakness. We'd have to be down more than 10 or 15 points tomorrow to see that. This is the short-term projection to be looking for. Okay, now we've shown you these. This is the short term. Let's do a review, a quick review, if you will, of the daily bar projections. Don't want to start with that one. We want to start with this one, which is a nominal 20-day projection. It's pretty clear. This projection calls for a minimum of 30.3645, and it goes as high as 30.7977. And as you can see, this is a very clear crossing here. Now, the nice thing about a situation like this is the offset lines move up very quickly underneath you. So if there is going to be an invalidation, you should know it fairly quickly. But right now, as we're looking at this, we look for a minimum move up to the 30.36 level, a nominal 20-day projection. That's a relatively short projection, so if it's going to happen, it should happen relatively quickly. The next projection is a nominal 5-week projection. That one is more impressive. It's way up here, and this is a clear crossing now, especially with today's action. We continue to progress. You see the median line, the midpoint of each bar, going up from day to day, down a little bit up, a little bit down, and this is a recent high right here. So it's moving in the right direction. The minimum projection here calls for 30.8674, 30.9607. So we're getting some significantly higher projections. The next one we want to show you is the nominal 20-week projection. That's right here. Now, this is interesting because this one, the low side of the projection window, we'll show you the whole projection window here. It's a big one. Now, the reason why this projection window is so big is look at the crossing here. From this low down here at 28.56, rounded off, the first line was crossed at this level. The second line was crossed way up here. So the big difference between the two offset lines accounts for the big difference in the projection, the large projection window. But it calls for at least a move up to 30.25 and change. So any of these projections, if they're met, could cause some short-term reaction to the downside. And this one's pretty close. The high today at the close was 30.16, so this one's only about 10 points away. The last one we want to show you is the nominal 40-week projection, which is right here. This is the really impressive one. And this was given a long time ago, back in March of this year. But we've never really, especially in a weekly chart, we did get a tiny bit below with one of the offset lines here, but immediately came back above it. Not enough to invalidate the projection. So this projection remains in effect. Now notice the other thing up here. This is the other thing we drew in for you to take a look at. Let's zoom in on this. This is the projection line, this is the trend line we've been talking about. The suggestion here is that this is going to be broken. Why do we suggest that? Well, the last chart we'll look at is one that we've showed you again over the past several weeks, and that is the trend line, this same exact trend line that we're looking at now. If I can find it. It's hiding somewhere here. It must be under here. Here it is. Okay, so let's zoom in on this, and we have the two projection lines right here. I keep calling them projection lines. They're simply trend lines. Remember this one now. Let's show you closing price chart. High through two highs, a good trend line, 3 points on it, a fourth point on it right here that occurred on October 17th, a little bit below, then broke above it, somewhat convincingly, came down to the trend line from above, and now for the last 2 days has gone slightly up. So we've already broken the equivalent closing price trend line. To me, that suggests that you indeed are going to break the bar chart trend line, which is just a little bit above us. We stalled there today. Interesting market picture. Hope you're enjoying these updates. Please subscribe if you haven't done so yet. If we do any special updates, you will be notified. If you subscribe and click on the bell, that gives you notifications. Whenever we do an update here, you will be immediately notified and be able to see it, whether it's intraday or end of day. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up for us if you'd like. Thumbs down, please tell us why, if you're doing it. Something about the update you didn't like. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll talk to you tomorrow with a weekend update.